Hi guys, welcome back to my channel DG Smart Office with Priya Sharma. This is the first video of the series of basic Excel skills training to get the job first at place in corporate sector. Now, even in this first video, you are going to learn a lot of amazing skills to complete the task in Excel. So, without wasting a time, we are now on to Excel. I have the existing file, so I will double click on the existing file and it will open my Excel file. To open it on a full mode, we need to click on this box here. Up here on the title bar, you can see the name that it is a grade book finished, that I have named it just because I feel the relevant name to my workbook. Now the objective of this workbook is I want to calculate the average of each student for each test, and we want to give them names, assignment, test, and we want to calculate average, then total, and then here the percentage. So I am going to close this just because I want to create a new worksheet from scratch. So I will open a new worksheet by pressing Ctrl N. If you have existing worksheet open, the shortcut way is just press Ctrl plus N and it will open your new worksheet. If you don't have any existing worksheet and you want to open a new worksheet, you just press the window key, type Excel and hit the enter key to open the file. I am not going to hit enter just because my file is open. Now here you can see the book name is book 1, which is not good for my file, so I want to change its name. So I hit F12 and I want to save it as Excel basic course. So EB underscore gradebook 1. Before clicking the save button, you need to confirm that where you want to save it. So you can see here the location, this PC documents. I want to save this workbook on my desktop, so I press desktop and I want to create a new folder. So to create a new folder, hit Ctrl Shift N and I want to give it a name Excel folder. Okay, and I want to save it here. Now my file is saved and you can see that the name has been changed. Before moving further, I want to give you what we are going to cover in this video. We are going to cover Excel grid structure, functions, formulas and page setup. So watch the video from starting to the end to make best out of it. Now we start off with the structure of Excel. Up here you have already seen that we have the title bar and we have the name of the Excel workbook. Excel workbook is not a document, it's a spreadsheet or a file and a workbook. So it is not a document, Word is a document. To the left of the title bar, you see there is a small toolbox. Like this is a save button. We are not going to use, never ever. We have the shortcut keys F12 for this. To the left of save button, you have the tool button to save the file on cloud automatically. But we don't want to it, so I keep it off. Now this whole area is our QAT. We call it QAT. QAT is basically quick access toolbar. What it does, I will tell you later in my class. For now, just understand these are the same shortcut command button showing here. If you use a specific tool command regularly, you can put it here. How you do that, I will tell you later in my class. Below this QAT, quick access toolbar, we see there is a tabs. There are different tabs under which there are different groups. We press the home tab and we see there are different groups like clipboard, font, alignment, and under each group there is a different types of tool command to perform different tasks. So this whole area is a ribbon part of where we perform lot of tasks using these tool commands. Below the ribbon we see formula bar. Formula bar does, it shows the content of the cell into formula bar. whatever we write in the cell, that will show you here. Like if I put data, you can see that you see the content of the cell. Now all the way to the left to the formula bar, there is a name box, and this is the name of the cell. Before coming to this name box, I want to tell you the most important basics. If you see my cursor and I put on the letters here on alphabets and I click, so you see there are some columns. These letters, these alphabets represents column in Excel. And if you see here, there are numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I click on them, it represents rows. So in Excel, columns are represented by letters and rows are represented by numbers. And if you see, the intersection of these represents the cell. If I this is 11, this row is 11, and the alphabet is L. So if I click on this cell L11, you can see the name of the cell is showing in the name box. Now what we have learned, columns are represented by alphabets and rows are represented by numbers in Excel, and these cells all together make up a sheet. This sheet, the name of the sheet is sheet 1. If you down below, you can see that this sheet name is sheet 1. Now I want to add a sheet. You might need like January, February, March, April, May. So you want different tabs like January, February, March, April. So down here, this small icon, when you click on that, it will add a new sheet. Whenever you insert a new sheet, it will always named as a default like sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. But I always recommend you to give it a sheet name relevant to the content containing in spreadsheet. Now these inserted sheet and the sheet 1, sheet 2 are called sheet tabs. When I press here, you see that I can jump between the sheet by just clicking on the tabs. If you press here, you will select the cells. I can jump between the sheet by just pressing the sheet tabs. Now I don't want this sheet and I want to delete it. So I select the sheet tab by right click, and you can see that there is a list of options which pop up, and you can just select delete and the sheet is deleted. And now I want to change my sheet tab name, so I double click on it, and you can see I am not clicking here on the cell. Anywhere you cannot click it. You have to click on the sheet tab. Now I want to give a sheet name to my sheet, and I just double click on the sheet tab, and you see that the sheet 1 name is highlighted. In PowerPoint and Word document, you need to first delete the word to replace it, but in Excel, when this is highlighted, you can directly start typing. Like I want to give this a name, gradebook, and when I press here, anywhere, my sheet has been named. If you want to give a sheet tab a color, right click on the sheet tab. When there is a list of options pop up, you just go on tab color and choose any color you want to give. Like I want to give it a red, so I am putting it on a red color, and you see now we have the tab color in our sheet tab. So what we have understood by now, columns are represented by alphabets, rows are represented by numbers, and the intersection of rows and columns makes a cell, and all the cells all together makes a sheet, which is this sheet, and all the sheets make together a workbook which have a name like we have given. Now I don't want to have these sheets, so I again deleted. Now we start with entering a data into Excel. I have already told you my objective, that I want to create a grade book where I have a separate quiz and assignment and the students scores. So we want to calculate average and their percentage. So let's start with entering the data. Now before entering a data, we need to understand the three important cursor which you will be encounter throughout the class. Like first you see this plus sign with a dark shadow is our selection cursor. You can see that I can click on any cell, and when I click and drag all the way, I can select the cells. If I want to select like A1, so I just click it here on the cell and I select the cell A1. You can see the cell I selected is A1. After selection cursor, moving to this cursor, which is when I put my cursor to the edge of the cell, you see my cursor turns into a 4 arrow pointed cursor, and this 4 arrow pointed cursor is our move cursor. If you ever perform the action like cut and paste, it does the same thing. Like if I have a content like data here and I want to move it from here to H3, I just select it, put my move cursor, and when I drag it to H3 and I hold my click, then the content of the cell move to the other cell. So it is the action like we performed cut and paste. I don't want to have this data in the cell, I want to delete it, so I hit the delete key. If you see this small dotted box right at the corner of the cell and I put my cursor over here, you see that it has become a crosshair, and when this crosshair is our fill handle. This fill handle is very important. It can do so much amazing task, and in your office and in your corporate you can do a lot of things with this cursor, and it is a very productive tool. I just give you some examples here. Like if I put January, so Jan is the short form of January, and this small box you see, which is our fill handle, when I put my cursor over here and click on my left arrow and left click on it, hold it and drag to the end, and you see the screen tip that November, December, and I drop it here, my hold, it is building our calendar, and we have saved a lot of time. Another example of fill handle is like I want to put a date. So this is the date, and again I put my cursor over on the small box. When it turns into crosshair, I left click, hold and drag it and just drop it. Now you see that our dates are incremented by 1, and so if you are building a schedule, it is very important tool. This is only 2 tricks which are done by our fill handle, but there is a lot to know about fill handle and you will learn throughout the class, so don't skip. So we first start learning how to enter data in Excel. I need to select A1, so my selection cursor, I have already selected A1. I want to put name here, and when you write name, I want to move from cell A to B, and I don't want to enter my data from up to down, so I want to move my selection to the right, so I press the tab key to move to the right. When you use tab key, it put the things in the cell and move the selection to the right. I want to put here quiz 1, it's our first assignment. Now I neither want to move my selection to the right nor to the down, so I want to put the things in the cell and keep the selection. I might do some some different things with the same cell, so I don't want to move my selection to right or to down. I want to keep the selection same. So I press Ctrl and hit enter. It will put the thing into the cell and keep it selected. I show you another use of fill handle. I put my cursor on the fill handle, left click on it, drag to the D column, and you see there is a screen tip also below my fill handle, like it is showing me quiz 3. And when I release my left click, you see it fills. This is exactly what I want to do. Now I want to type EFG, the test 1, test 2 and test 3. So I enter test 1 and I want to select the same cell, keep the same selection just because I want to do the same thing. I hit Ctrl and enter. This will put the thing into the cell and keep the selection. Now again I use my fill handle and left click on it, drag it to the G column, and there is a screen tip that I have reached as test 3 and I wanted it, so I release my fill handle. After these two assignments, and which are grouped as quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, test 1, test 2, test 3, I want to make the total and I want to move it to the right, so I hit the tab key and I want to calculate percentage of each student, so I type here percentage and hit enter. Now I want to tell you one thing, that whenever you enter the data into Excel, there is a table, ranges, anything. So you first start off with the headers. Headers are the columns, like we have already given our headers like name, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, test 1, test 2, test 3. So I want to now give a formatting. Now from the first row you have learned a lot of things. I want to tell you one thing. If you have noticed, the text are aligned to the left. This is the one thing that the default structure of Excel is when you enter data into it, and if the data is text, it is aligned to the left in the cell. Second thing, you have learned it, when you use fill handle and when there is a number and text combined together and you use the fill handle, it will increment it when you drag and hold it. The third most important thing you have learned, that whenever you enter the data, there is a table and they must have the headers, like which we have given, like name, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, test 1, test 2, test 3, and each one has its own data type. Now moving further to enter more data in it. Before entering a name, I want to give the maximum score the student can have in their assignments. So the maximum number we are going to put here in our second column, which is our subheading, just because they are also not going to be changed. So max, hit the tab key just because we want to move to the right, and the first quiz we are going to have is 30 numbers. Okay, so I want to keep the selection same just because I want to use my fill handle again. So I hit Ctrl enter, and you see as I hit enter or Ctrl enter, the number move right in this cell. So now you have learned that numbers are aligned to the left in this cell. Now text are aligned to the left and numbers are aligned to the right in Excel. Why it is so important that text are aligned to the left and numbers are aligned to the right by default in Excel? It is a visual clues that these are numbers and these are text. I will show you that why it is very important when you learn advanced Excel skills. So now we are stick to our basics, and just this is a visual clue and it is very important. I recommend you that do not change your formatting, default formatting, until or unless you finish the report. Once you finish the report, you can change whatever you want to design your text and numbers. But before finishing your report, do not change the default formatting of numbers and text in your reports until or unless you have finished it. Now I want to copy this quiz 2 quiz 3, both are of same number. Say so I put my cursor over to the fill handle and left click on it and drag it. And once I reach on my destination, I will drop it. You can see that the numbers are copied exactly I want. I don't want to increment it, and the Excel does the same thing. This fill handle automatically did my task. Now my test one is of 100 marks, and what if I want to increment it and I want to use my fill handle? I hit Control and enter just because I want to keep the selection same and I want something to do with my fill handle, and I put my cursor over here. Now I want it to be incremented by one step. So how will I do it? When I am on fill handle and you are seeing this cross circle and I hit press control and hold it, and you see there is another plus sign over my fill handle. This means I want to do something else with my fill handle. I don't want to copy it as a same number, but I want to increment it. And when I do the same thing, press the left click, hold it and drag, you see the screen tip below, it is incrementing by 1, and when I drop it, it will become 101, 102. It is incremented by one step. But I don't want it. I want it to be 100 and it to be 100. So I just select it and delete it. And again I go to my selection E2 and use my fill handle just because I want to copy it. I won't press control now. Just I left click, hold it, drag it, and you see the magic. This is exactly we wanted. We have the total here and the percentage. For that we will use the formula, and before that we want to complete our data or our table. So I again want to click here, and now I want to give the name of the students. So like first we put Ankur, and now I want to move down just because I am not entering data from left to right. I am entering my data from up to down. So I only hit enter. Anuj, hit enter. Rohit, hit enter. Hit enter. Mohit, hit enter. So we have taken 5 students. That's enough for this data set. Just because we want to calculate average eventually, and hit my enter. Now in this data set we will learn 3 formulas. One, percentage, second, total, and third is average. So we will come on it later. Before that we need to enter the data, that how much each student is scored in each quiz and test. So now we are going to enter the data randomly. We are putting it. So in quiz 1 Ankur scored 20. Hit enter key. Anuj scored 25. Hit enter key. Rohit scored 15. Hit enter key. Karan score out of 30 18. Mohit scored 17. And you see, when I hit enter key, I am going to the next cell, which is average, and I don't want to go into it. I want move my selection from here to row number 3 on Ankur. How will I do it? I will show you. This is how our selection cursor work. there is another trick to enter this kind of data. I select the range because I have already put my data in quiz 1, so I will select from quiz 2 and I want to put my data in this column because quiz 2, quiz 3, test 1, test 2, test 3. I want to enter my data in these range, so I have selected it. If you see the first cell of my selection, it is differently highlighted from others. Now I just start typing just because it is already selected. We don't need to use our cursor selection. Now start typing. So I start my numbers like 30 over 25, hit enter, 30 over 17, hit enter, 16, hit enter, 30, hit enter, 26, hit enter, and you see my selection move to the exactly the same place where I want it to be. So that's the very different trick when you are entering such kind of data and you have to manually enter the data from the paper or something else. To enter the data, when you reached on the last cell, when you enter, it just come back to the first cell of the selection. Now we have entered the data and we see that we have entered the complete data. Now we want to give it some formatting. Now I select my first table header and I want to give a different font and different color. So I go to this bucket in the toolbar on the ribbon and we select this dark color. If you don't like the color here, you can also click on more colors and you find it here. I generally like this dark color and I use it. Okay. Now we are giving a font a color. So when we have chosen a dark color, we need to give a white font and a bold font. Now I want to format my max row as well, just because these numbers are also the maximum values. We are not going to change it. These are the fixed values and these are also different from our data values. So we highlight this and I want to give a yellowish background and the font I choose is red. Now I want to give a border to my range. I select from my selection cursor and once I selected the correct range, I go up here in the home tab in the ribbon and I select all borders. Now we have created our first table. I don't want to make this video large, so I will be completing the formula section in my next video. Till then, you can download the file in the description box and start practicing. In today's video, we have talked about the structure of the Excel, 3 types of important cursors, moving cursor, selection cursor, and the important one, fill handle, visual clue of numbers and text. Text are aligned to the left and the numbers are aligned to the right in Excel. If you have not subscribed my channel, subscribe my channel so that you won't miss important videos, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.